Live viewers on this continuous special broadcast. And just now, U.S. Ambassador to South Asia, especially and stationed in the national capital, Delhi, Sergio Gore, to whom a lot of credit goes to trying to revive this entire conversation and give it more impetus, this trade deal and more cooperation, has just tweeted two parts. One is a joint statement, which we've already discussed. The other part is the pulling back of the 25% ad valorem tariff that was implemented for Bharat buying Russian oil. So clearly, the US now convinced that Bharat is reducing its purchase of Russian oil. But the last clause also, in fact, Section 4 very clearly says that if the Secretary of Commerce finds that India has resumed directly or indirectly importing Russian federal oil, the Secretary of State in consultation the Secretary of Treasury, of Commerce, and Security Affairs, the Assistant to President for Trade and Manufacturing, shall recommend whether and to what extent I should take additional action as to India, including whether I should reimpose the ad valorem duty of 25% on imports of articles of India. So over the course of the next few months, they're going to continuously be monitoring Bharat's oil purchases and dependence on Russian oil. Lakshman is with us, and so is Lakshman Shenoy with us, and so is Ambassador Prabhu Dayal. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, this again shows the American intent, saying that if you walk the walk, we will talk the talk, or if you, or however you want to put it. And this will again boost the markets and confidence that we are back on track with respect to the US.
Well, if you look at the joint statement, that also says that the United States and India agree that the other country may modify its commitments. So there is a lot of room for flexibility, and I think the statement which has been issued by President Trump makes it very clear that he will be tough in regard to Russian oil. And the fact that he has gone to the extent of saying he may reimpose the tariffs for purchasing Russian oil is something that we have to take note of. I think India has made it quite clear that it intends to diversify. And if we are buying oil from the United States, and we have also expressed our intent to buy oil from Venezuela, then I think this should assuage him. India's imports from Russia have been going down. They were much lower in December as compared to November, and they are expected to be lower even in January, February, and March. So that should also assuage him. But nonetheless, he has left some flexibility in this entire arrangement to come back with the oil-related tariffs if the need arises.
Well, it's such a busy Saturday because Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just embarked on his trip to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where clearly the issue of Zakir Naik will come up. Greater cooperation with Malaysia will come in, regional cooperation, regional security, patrolling the Indian Ocean together. All of that will come up because Malaysia also wanting to clearly significantly reduce its dependence on China. Meanwhile, he has also tweeted just 3 minutes ago, just reading that in our continuous broadcast, as Bodhi also stays on with us. At the invitation of my friend, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, I'll be visiting Malaysia, a nation which India's ties are deep-rooted and extensive. The visit will boost our comprehensive strategic partnership and enhance cooperation across sectors. Malaysia is home to a vibrant Indian diaspora. Looking forward to today's community program in Kuala Lumpur, where I'll get an opportunity to interact with our diaspora. So what the messaging will be to the Indian diaspora there, and from there to the world, and also back home to Bharat will be interesting. His address to the Indian diaspora later on, and we will be continuously on that too, viewers. But this comprehensive strategic partnership is important. Also, Malaysia and Bharat ran into rough weather with palm oil and some of the other purchases. And more importantly, the sticky issue is Zakir Naik, who still continues to reside in Malaysia and continues to operate in the neighborhood very actively. And he's a wanted man. So whether this strategic partnership also brings in a certain level of securing the arrest or repatriation of Zakir Naik and him being prosecuted by our courts, we'll have to wait and watch. But coming back to the trade deal and bringing the focus back here, Bodhi, one of the aspects is Russian oil. But this morning, there's been a strategic move, matter of strategic import or a significant import, because the US president has said that there have been great strides taken in resolution of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Now, in the coming months, if that is sorted, if there is peace there, then the sanctions on Russia will also be lifted. And then that changes the dynamic altogether.
if you look at the statement
Bodhi,
which
you're on
Trump
mute.
has,
Haan ji.
yeah,
Haan ji.
yeah, you want me to
Can
come
hear
in?
you now. Can hear you.
Yeah, right.
No, yeah, please go ahead.
So, So if you look at the statement which you read out from Trump just a few minutes back, so he is still talking about India ceasing to import Russian oils. That is, Russian oils is supposed to be zero. Now, that is not the current position. I don't see how. See, we are not buying from the sanctioned entities, which is Rosneft and Lukoil, which is about 50%. But there are non-sanctioned entities from which Indian refiners have bought in the first 3 weeks of January also, as per data which is available. Now, whether that's going to become zero or not, which is literally, if you take his statements, President Trump's statement literally, that's what it seems to imply. I'm not sure that's the case. Having said all that, as you yourself said, this problem goes away if there is a wider peace agreement with Russia. Because because obviously one of the conditions for such a peace agreement on Ukraine would be that the sanctions on Russian exports get lifted. So in fact, that is the best possible, and if you recall, Anand, that the basis of the 25% additional tariff or the so-called penal tariff was to pressurize India not to buy Russian oil because of Ukraine.
Yeah.
So these problems go away. So that is the best possible outcome. But as of now, the US president is still sticking to the zero Russian oil commitment or so-called commitment, which so let's see how that plays. I think we'll have to navigate this flexibly. And by the way, our purchases of US oil has stepped up dramatically over the calendar year 2025 as compared to earlier. We've just started buying some Venezuelan crude, so we'll have to do these kind of things. I think that's really the upshot of this. But we'll have to see how to navigate this.
True. Yeah, I think increase in buying of Venezuelan crude, which our refineries are well equipped to process, is something that's been spoken
That's
about.
right.
We've got money stuck in Venezuela also from some of our ONGC money, etc., some of our oil cos to free that up. If that is leveraged, we'll have to wait and watch. And in between, if this peace happens between Russia, Ukraine, and sanctions are lifted, then that will be perhaps it'll change the dynamics altogether. Lakshman's been waiting patiently to also break it down in terms of data and sector, the data across sectors. One of the second point very clearly says that both the nations are going to continue to work over the next 6 months of entering into the force of agreement, whether US developed or international standards, including testing requirements. They've also said that this entire reducing of tariff barriers, reciprocal tariffs, they will extend it into also non-tariff barriers to the trade of US food and agriculture products, and also spread it across gems and jewelry. Extent of the scope of these reciprocal tariffs or no tariffs at all, including generic pharmaceuticals, gems, and diamonds and aircraft parts. So कौन से सेक्टर्स हैं लक्ष्मण जहां हमको सबसे ज्यादा फायदा होगा? हमारी खरीद फरोख्त जो होती है वो सबसे ज्यादा कौन से सेक्टर्स में है यूएस के साथ?
देखिए सबसे ज़्यादा जो फ़ायदा होने वाला है वो आपको इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सेक्टर को लेके। अभी जो हमारा कुल एक्सपोर्ट का 18% यूएस को जाता है, उसमें $11.1 बिलियन का एक्सपोर्ट जो है सिर्फ और सिर्फ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सेक्टर का यूएस को जाता था जब ये एडिशनल टैरिफ नहीं लगा था, तब की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं। ये कैलेंडर ईयर 24 की बात कर रहा हूँ। जेम्स एंड ज्वेलरी दूसरे नंबर पर है, जहाँ पे $9.9 बिलियन का एक्सपोर्ट यूएस को जाता था कैलेंडर ईयर 24 में, जब ये एडिशनल टैरिफ वगैरह नहीं लगे थे। तीसरा सेक्टर है न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर मशीनरी, जहां पे $6.2 बिलियन का एक्सपोर्ट यूएस को हम करते हैं। टेक्सटाइल आर्टिकल, वहां पे $2.8 बिलियन का एक्सपोर्ट करते थे। लेकिन इंपॉर्टेंट बात यह है कि अब जाकर जो टेक्सटाइल पे ड्यूटी कम हुई है, तो हम ज्यादा एक्सपोर्ट इसलिए कर पाएंगे क्योंकि जिस कंट्री से हमारा कंपटीशन यूएस मार्केट में होता था, बांग्लादेश, वो वहां पे यूएस में 20% ड्यूटी लगेगा, वियतनाम 20% ड्यूटी लगेगा, पाकिस्तान 19% ड्यूटी लगेगा, वहां पे हम सिर्फ 18% ड्यूटी पे सामान भेज रहे होंगे। तो ये हमारे लिए एक बड़ी उपलब्धि होगी। चाइना 34% ड्यूटी लगेगा, यहां पे हम 18% ड्यूटी लगा रहे होंगे। तो ये एक बड़ा सेक्टर है जहां पे जा रहा होगा। ऐसे हमने देखा कि ऑटो कंपोनेंट $2.6 बिलियन का हम एक्सपोर्ट यूएस में करते थे, तो वो एक बड़ा सेगमेंट वहां पे निकल कर आएगा। और एक चीज और मैं कह दूं शॉर्ट में, कि जो रशिया से ऑयल खरीदने वाली बात चल रही थी, तो अगर आप उस नोटिफिकेशन को पढ़ेंगे जो कि व्हाइट हाउस के एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्डर में दिया गया है, उसके सेक्शन 2 का लास्ट का 3 लाइन पढ़ेंगे तो रिफंड शब्द का इस्तेमाल किया गया है कि ड्यूटी को रिफंड किया जाएगा उसके प्रोसेस को। रिफंड का मतलब क्या हो, थोड़ा टेक्निकल समझना पड़ेगा, लेकिन एक साथ और कहा गया कि अगर हम खरीदेंगे आगे चल के रशिया से ऑयल, तो फिर ड्यूटी रीइंपोज करने की संभावना ही बनी रहेगी।
जी, क्योंकि वो डेट उन्होंने कहा है कि 7 फरवरी 2026 को 12:01 से जो भी एक्सपोर्ट्स इंपोर्ट्स हो रहे हैं, तो इस बार तो ये इसको तब माना जाता है जिनकी लैंडिंग यूएस पोर्ट्स में होगी, तो वो एक्चुअली इसकी ड्यूटी दे रहे हैं या उनको उसके
या
परसुएंट
फिर वहां
रिफंड
के वेयर
मिलेगा या
हाउस
नहीं
में है।
मिलेगा। तो आई थिंक वहां पर वहां के वेयर हाउस में है और सामान निकला नहीं है, तो उसका उनको रिफंड मिलेगा कि नहीं, क्योंकि ईओ जो है इमीडिएटली उन्होंने कहा है और आगे वही कहा है कि देखिए हम मॉनिटर करते रहेंगे और
एक लाइन और
कलेक्टिव आकर के ये जी 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 जी
एक लाइन और ऐड कर दूं, जो नॉन टैरिफ बैरियर की बात अभी मोदी सर कर रहे थे, तो आप भी डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं, तो बता दो कि नॉन टैरिफ बैरियर पे इस
जी
डील के
जी
अनाउंसमेंट से पहले ही गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने बहुत सारे काम किया था। नीति आयोग ने जो गोवा कमेटी के रिकमेंडेशन पे इंप्लीमेंटेशन शुरू किया था, वो दरअसल सारे नॉन टैरिफ बैरियर का इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट था, जिसको लेकर यूएस भी रिकमेंड कर रहा था। उस पर सरकार पहले से काम करना शुरू कर चुकी है, तो मुझे लगता है आने वाले दिनों में और इसमें तेजी आएगी।
जी, धन्यवाद धन्यवाद लक्ष्मण एंड Ambassador Prabhu Dayal and Bodhi